Hypi is a code-free app building platform that lets you create responsive web, mobile, and desktop apps in record time. Hypi's visual interface makes it easy to build a fully fledged native, web, mobile, or desktop app with complete control over aesthetics and functions. You can drag and drop widgets to create your app and easily add text, color, images, call to action buttons, and more. After you're done editing, you'll be able to preview your app before publishing to ensure it's pixel perfect. This tool also helps you turn boring, manual tasks into smooth digital processes that work on mobile and desktop. Thanks to Hypi's Logic Builder, you can build workflows to streamline processes and automate tasks like submitting forms, searching for data, and querying databases and APIs. Add data to your user interface and trigger queries dynamically when folks interact with your app, taking your user experience to a new level. This no-code platform also offers an integration that lets you connect to your existing database, so you don't need to pay for another system. Don't have a database? You can use Hypi's secure, built-in database to store all user and company data in one place. That means you'll have access to all the infrastructure you need to safeguard your app's data on a scalable platform that grows with you. Hypi lets you generate a new app version every time you deploy, so you can publish your app in seconds. You'll be able to publish your app to the Google Play and Apple App Stores with just one click. Once your app is live, new customers will be able to immediately download and use it right from their mobile and desktop devices. Hypi is packed with a drag-and-drop app editor and visual logic builder that lets you create and publish a responsive, high-quality app, totally code-free.
In this episode, we'll give you a quick introduction to the most feature-rich, low-code platform for building data-driven applications. Hi, my name is Damien, and today we're going to show you how to get started with Hypi as your reliable serverless low-code backend provider. Welcome back, guys. Before we dive in, I just want to clarify on a few concepts when it comes to working with the platform. Hypi is a serverless low-code platform for building data-driven applications. You could build your front-end application and web services in any language. You could consider using JavaScript, Java, Kotlin, or connect up your favorite front-end frameworks like Angular, React, Flutter, Android, iOS, and many more. So we could say Hypi is both language and platform agnostic. When it comes to building data-driven applications using Hypi, it's based upon creating apps. You construct a building block called app. You can then treat each app like a package or dependency that contains your functionalities and features. You can then create your API instances to connect your web and front-end services using Hypi API endpoints. The dashboard, what is currently on screen, is where all of your created apps will live. In the toolbar at the top, we have the Developer Hub. The Developer Hub is where you can find resources you need to build your app, with tutorials and guides pointing to the documentation, which you can find at docs.hypi.app. Back on the dashboard, we're going to create our first app by clicking the New App button. Now, when it comes to creating an app, you need to provide a name, and each name must be unique because it's referenced throughout the app. Below the name, we have this checkbox, and it is enabled by default because you're telling the system that you want to create your first version of this app with a production-ready API pointing to that version. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to create a bare-bone messaging app, and by that nature, I'm going to name my app Message. And I'm going to leave the checkbox enabled. Once you're happy with your name, hit the Create App button. Once created, you'll get navigated to what is known as the Apps view. Inside of the Apps view, you have a secondary toolbar. In that toolbar, we have the resources. It is similar to the Developer Hub, but specific for each app. Next to that, we have the Apps profile. This is where you can customize the overview of your application. Then we have releases. This is how you can create multiple versions of your app. Lastly, we have instances. And an instance is a production-ready API of your services. You can create multiple instances pointing to the different versions of your app, and each instance is isolated by default, enabling you to get multi-tenancy in your APIs with no extra effort. Before we dive into the API, we're going to take a step back and look at our releases. Now, as mentioned, apps can commonly have more than one release. A release is a version of your app and contains a definition and features available for that release. Inside of a release, you can publish and deprecate a release. A release must be published before you're able to create an API instance pointing to that release. Then we have the release notes. This is how you can describe the features and functionality that a single release contains. Below that, we have dependencies. And if you can recall, I mentioned that you could break your app up into small features and functionalities. Here is where you can reuse those functionalities as part of your app. Now, with this feature, you're able to scale and build applications a lot faster. Below that, we have environment settings. Many applications require settings at runtime that changes depending on some criteria specific to the app or the user. Hypi lets you define the environment settings in your system. These are key value pairs, defined configuration options for your app. In the console tab to the right, we have the data tables. In Hypi, modeling your schema is your core job. Both your data model and your API is configured in your app schema. Data models are written in GraphQL SDL. But you don't need to know GraphQL to get started, because Hypi provides an easy to use interface that enables you to build data tables very quickly. And as your understanding of GraphQL grows, you can manually type in your table definitions in the schema editor. You can also use these two tabs in tandem to build and extend your release. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to use the data builder and I'm going to add my first table, giving it a name, message. I'm going to add a single field with a name of text and the input type as a string. You'll notice that we provide several options for the data input type. Once you're happy with your selection and the name, hit save and continue. You'll notice that your table was saved and you now have an extra field attached to that table. Hypi automatically creates an object. This is known as the magic Hypi object. This object contains an ID which is unique to the data, the created time, the updated time, the trash time, and the user, the account that created this piece of data. We're going to explore our instances now, and if you enabled the checkbox earlier when you were creating the app, you should have a single instance in the Instances tab. So click Open, you'll get navigated to the API console, and we're going to go straight to the GraphQL Playground. The Playground is a built-in editor, and it's a very intricate and easy way to interact with your API. So whenever you write your queries or run any CRUD operation, by pressing play, you will get the result immediately. Under API configuration, I just want to point out a few options. The very first one is the environment settings. If you recall, I mentioned that you can provide environment settings based on the criteria of your apps. This is where you provide the value for those key for the environment settings. To the right of that, we have enable anonymous requests. If this is selected, you're telling the system that you want to make a request to the API without an authorization token. Then we have enable anonymous registration, email verification, and last, we have enforce referential integrity on deletes. I just want you to make note of this last one that is checked by default, because when a request is sent to the server to delete a piece of data, Hypi ensures that there's no other data linked to the object or to the data that is being deleted. This is to protect the structural integrity of your data. That's it for now, guys. And suppose you have any questions or you want to say hi, you can reach us at support@hypi.io.